Up next, we have Debbie from SaaS Back. I got you. And Megan from Retention to talk about the power of partnerships for e-commerce agencies.
All right, this is a dad joke inspired by lunch. So lunch made me do it.
God, I love you.
What did the sushi say to the bee?
What did it say, Debbie?
Wasabi. Nothing? Okay, all right, we'll keep working on it. We've got a long time. Don't you worry.
My favorite person. My goodness. Hi, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
I don't have any dad jokes for you, but I'll try and sprinkle some in along the way in the presentation.
I think that would be more for me than for them. It's becoming really clear that the dad jokes is not really...
It's not hitting this crowd. I
No.
mean, it's the post-lunch crowd. You know, they're all tired. So, well, we could do breathing. I really liked the breathing exercises earlier. I thought that was nice. I was doing that right before getting on board. But there's tons of coffee in the back if anyone's sleepy. But we'll just get into it, though.
Yes, sounds good. So I'll kick off with an introduction. Someone said this earlier, this isn't about me, so I'll only tell you what I believe is necessary for us to have this conversation together. So my name is Debbie Kemunto. I am the CEO and co-founder of SaaS Back. SaaS Back is a knowledge-sharing community, mostly of merchants. So think of head of e-commerce, so who gives a crap, CTO of Hello Bello, or head of e-commerce at Liquid IV. We bring these brands together to sit down and have conversations about various topics. And this is rooted in our fundamental belief that no one person is really all that smart. We feel that when we bring people together, we actually come up with unique ideas. The truth is that everything we know present day, we've learned from somebody else, right? We're building off of the work of others. And so, we always invite an agency partner to come along, but it's very similar to this where you're growing by sharing your knowledge. And so a lot of this today will just be a conversation. Like I said, don't believe anyone knows that much as a singular person, but I'm excited to talk to you about partnerships. Before founding SaaS Back, I'd spent the last 12 years in sales and partnerships on the SaaS side, and all of my success I owe to the relationships that I'd built in the ecosystem and partnerships, so it's something I'm super, super passionate about. Megan?
I love hearing your story, Debbie. It's fantastic, and I'm so happy to be on stage with you. Thank you for inviting me to join you on this panel. Partnerships is something I'm really passionate about. Thank you, Rachel, for bringing this room of people together to learn and share and collaborate, really mirroring what Debbie said. Everything I've learned in partnerships has been from agency leaders, brand builders, tech partners. So I'm Megan. I'm the head of partnerships at retention.com. I've been in the partner space for the last 3 years and was tapped to help build a partner-led organization, which is very lofty goals in SaaS to say that 3 people will control the majority of business for our organization. So I'm beyond happy to be here to chat with you all today about how to build really strong strategic partnerships, how to identify which partnerships are really valuable to advancing you and your business and your growth with brands, with technology, within agencies. There's a lot to be done in this relationship space. We're in a very trusting community. I think we all understand this by telling our customers to implement reviews, and if someone's going to ask, have you worked with this person before? Are you familiar with this product? And that's really what partnerships is. It's having someone that you trust to advise and consult on these different things that we utilize every single day. So we're just going to talk to you guys about a couple different ways to build really strong partnerships.
Yeah. And with that, I'd like to kick it off with a question to the room. The first one's going to sound really silly, but I just really want to know. How many of you in the room, if I walked up to you, could tell me your ideal client profile? Okay. How many of you in the room would say that most of your partners know who your ideal client profile is?
It's like very few hands through looking up here.
Yeah, those were very, very few hands. When you think about the start of partnerships, it's really like any other relationship. I know we opened up this conference talking about safe sex, so moving along that trajectory, bringing it back to Nihar on the dating, it's like a marriage versus a one-night stand. This is a true long-term relationship. And to be an effective partner to someone, you have to know about them. You have to know their value proposition. And this is one thing that I realized that a lot of partners don't know. And it comes down to the way that you communicate it. And I've seen it done really well today twice. The first was Anna from Ecom department told us that they work on women's apparel. Does anyone remember that? Lovely. And then Leah told us that they work with women's supplements brands and women's health brands. Does anybody remember that? If it's literally not that simple, it is extremely difficult for you to stay top of mind, right? When someone's having a conversation, if they know health and wellness, I need to talk to Leah about this brand. This is who I should connect her with. They're able to make that introduction to you and for you. But without this information, you're not really arming your partners with what's necessary to be a good partner for you. So the first thing that I would say is the most, active thing that we can do to really create powerful partnerships is identify your ICP, right? Identify your offering. Make sure that each and every single one of your partners knows really clearly and succinctly when you should come to mind and when you should be top of mind. And there are various ways to do that. This is not information I'm getting from me. In preparation for this, I talked to a lot of different agencies. Thank you so much for lending your mind. And some of the different ways that I've heard this done is for some agencies who are starting out, they pick something that they're super passionate about. Passion allows you to access depth in topics, and so that's your unfair advantage if you've picked an industry that you yourself are nuts about, right? No one will go deeper than you because you care more. The other way to think about it is if you already have an active agency that's already running and really successful, go to your clients, right? Who are you really crushing it for? What do they look like? How much revenue do they make? What makes them stand out? Who's your team raving about in the experience of working together? And that's a way you can come up with a clearly defined ICP. One thing that typically comes up is that an agency is scared that by defining their ICP so tightly, they're going to miss out on, the customers who come to them that aren't in that ICP.
That's a really, really good point. And I've run into that one so many times where someone will say, when I ask, who's your ideal customer? They're like, oh, we can work with anyone. I'm like, okay, so are you really good at anyone, or can you do work for anyone? I think that's like a very tricky one, especially as you're starting out. No one wants to get pigeonholed. No one wants to be like just this agency, but like, what if you're the best fashion and apparel agency? What if you're the best CPG agency? Is that bad? And then people know you're the best at something, you can probably transfer that knowledge and information. So having a very clear, this is what I am best at, this is who works best, is going to be so much more impactful for your partners when they hear those words. They perk up when they hear lifestyle brand, they perk up when they hear consumer packaged goods, and they know to push business back in your direction because they know you're an expert in that space.
Yeah. And I think the last panel, one of the speakers said he's, working really hard at turning away business that's not in their ICP, which proves they'll find you, right? The people that aren't specifically in your ICP will find you, and you'll have to decide whether to work with them. But really being clear means that you have case studies based on that because you crushed it for that specific group of people. You have some champions in that space, and it just makes it really easy for your partners.
And I love that you mentioned case studies and proving that, because guess who's really good at running and building case studies? All of your tech partners really want to feature all the brands and all the agencies that they're working with on site. So as you're building up your legitimacy, you have a huge opportunity with the people that you partner with to help further bolster your reputation. You're working with a brand, but they may be working with 2,000 brands, and they want to put your name out there in front of everyone that uses their tool and their product. A lot of them will do the heavy lifting for you. I know I've worked on the agency side, and if you asked me to write a case study, I'd tell you yes in 6 months. But in tech, we want to put those names and brands out there as much as possible. So you have someone that's there to help grow your success, because the more successful you work together, the more business you're both going to bring in.
Absolutely.
Should we switch to the next? Or?
Yeah, let's talk about mobilizing your partner's resources.
Yes. What a smooth transition, Debbie.
As I checked my time. So I love partnerships because the truth is it's so simple, right? I could say so much about it, but nothing will be really insightful. It's really about executing a lot of things really well. this whole idea of accessing what your partner brings to the table is going back to mutual reciprocity and mutual growth. What can they offer, and how can you get access for that? We've heard a couple different examples brought up today about how you can learn how to do this, and Billy did this from Gorgeous and said, do you know what their goals are? Like, do you know what they're responsible for delivering for their organization? So as a poll of the room, how many people here would say that they feel comfortable telling us what their strongest partners are gold on? What is that partner or manager gold on?
That's 2.
Okay.
That's not good.
Well,
It's important to know, though. It's important to know your counterpart and what's important to them. Because if what you want from them is not what they want from you, your relationship will never go anywhere. So the 3 things that Debbie and I always talk about, and the 3 things I've seen helpful is you should know about every partner what gets them looking good in front of their boss, what makes their boss look good, and what gets them paid. If you know all 3 of those things, every relationship is starting off where you're mutually aligned of, hey, I want to do what's best for you, and where's that overlap of where are the things that I need and want on my side, and where are the things that you need and you want, and let's work within that overlapping space. Let's utilize those resources and bring those to the table together so that we can ultimately both drive each other's successful business and growth.
yeah, and I think you'd be surprised to find out what they are most of the time. Like Megan told me a story earlier of a partner who was gold on meetings with her.
Yeah.
So they make it a point to meet once a month so that they can meet that goal for that partner. But going back to that example of building a long-term relationship, there's just really no way you're going to arrive at the same end goal in life if you don't know what that person's goals are, you don't know what their priorities are, you don't know what success looks like for them. In the same way that if they don't know you and who your ICP fit is, it's unlikely that they're bringing you valuable business. And one of the things that I've gotten from talking to really successful agencies in the last couple months who are producing a lot of pipeline from the partner ecosystem on this step, of really understanding the goals and KPIs is focus on small. And this came from Carolina from Tomorrow. And she says that a lot of partners are focused on, signing with every single partner in the ecosystem. You can't really do this with everyone, right? You don't have the time or resources. Pick your 5 core partners and go deep with them so that you know this information about them and they know it about you, and you're just growing together as you think about it that way.
You bring up such a good point there too, of like really knowing those things, because it does position as an agency. I'm sure that the more often that you get the question of, hey, have you heard of blank tech product? And we'll call it Roswell again. Nihar also said, always take the call, right? Like, because even if you don't work with them, even if they're not the right ICP, if you're able to say, yes, I've heard of this product, we mainly work with this one because we see more success, or we can partner with that, we can integrate with that, you're going to continuously be the source of truth for your customers. And that's a huge retention tactic, right? They're going to you, you're becoming their Google, and sometimes you are just Googling things for them. Don't need to get into that one, sorry about that. But it is really valuable to be the person that they go to as the source of truth. Do you trust this product? Do you recommend this tool? What should we do next? And that's going to help you throughout every facet of building those relationships with your customers and with your brands. So having that really deep understanding of the best way to do something and the ways to not do it too. Like, who doesn't fit? Which products don't work for you? Which ones should you be pushing away from? You're not going to know that until you really build up that repertoire and you decide on and elevate yourself with those top partners that work best for your customers.
Yeah. And then just as like a poll of the room, who here is super careful about climbing those partner tiers that their partners have?
Do we care about being
So very
master,
few hands.
elite, certified?
Yeah.
Yes, no, maybe? Interesting.
And so when I talked to the agencies, I thought I would just share with you the things that stood out, the things that we all know I left out. And this was another point that was brought up. I specifically met with an agency who said, look, we are not the largest agency, and we probably don't do the most business with Klaviyo, to be honest, but we are the ones who log our business and climb those partner tiers. And because of it, we're entitled to so many benefits and we get so much because there is a track back that Klaviyo can say, they bring X, Y, Z. So in terms of mobilizing the resources, it's not just enough to know what does the other person want, what are their goals, but also how are they measuring it? how can you climb that? Because there's usually resources that are allocated to each specific tier. And so if you're not tracking that, you may be sending a lot of business and you're not getting the benefits that are tied to that.
Yeah. And that access is, so of all the agency partners that we talk to, if you're in the crowd, thank you for answering my 3 a.m. Slack messages. I appreciate it. But the ones that they talked about was having direct support. I think I have a quote up on this one. One of my friends, when I were talking about this, and he's like, I want to know that if anything goes wrong with your product, that you can fix it. And I have at retention.com, I think we have about 135 agency partners. I have Slack channels with all of them, and we have 2,000 customers, and I do not have Slack channels with any of them. You have access on a level when you partner with technology where you can communicate directly, you can elevate problems, things that your customers literally cannot do. They do not have that access and that support, and that's just another way to really utilize those relationships, become the masters of this, get that top level support, have those CSMs jump on calls. I'll bring my CSM on a call with any agency referred client that's not doing well, and we'll go troubleshoot through their account and make sure that we can figure out anything that's happening. That's that level of access that you get when you really dig into these partnerships. And you can really drive a lot of value back to both your brand for being able to solve those things and to your customers by really leveraging the power of those partnerships.
Yeah, and I think Nihar said this best. He said, are you going to have your customers fill out a help support ticket? Because they can do that themselves, right?
You can
You're
just
not
come
bringing
join us,
any
Nihar.
additional value. Yeah, Nihar should be up here. He already told you everything we were going to tell you. Yeah, so it really does make you, take you to that next level with your customer at the end of the day if you can get support like this. And that was the one thing that was standard across the board that agency partners really valued about working with tech partners, is getting that level of access. The other things, the thought leadership, the events, the resources, all of that just is based on what you as an agency are working on. Right? Earlier we had Nigel on stage who's focused on building a personal brand. So if I was Nigel's partner, I would think that comments on his posts on LinkedIn, shares and likes would be really useful to him. That's not on that list, right? But it's about supporting what their mission is, what they're working on. If you're looking for more visibility, do you think about it as in real life events, or is that just, thought leadership and case studies? So all the other things can be customized, but the one thing we found that successful agencies were doing across the board is using that access that Megan talked about with their agency partners.
Yeah, I'll do a different call out for ones. Avex, I talk to Veronica pretty much every day. By the way, John, she's fantastic. But yeah, I'm chatting with their team constantly, and they're always checking in, making sure their customers are getting everything that they can out of having these top tier partners. And that's really important. You're defining your brand, you're showing up, and you're telling your customers that you can help them and utilize all of these resources at hand to actually be able to do so.
Nice.
So I think we're close on time.
Yes,
so
I think
this
we're
is a
at time.
take a photo slide. So these are just a couple ways that we've come up with to really evaluate who a good technology partner is for your specific agency. I think it's really important to know this because you won't be partners with everyone. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of different technology products, but there will be ones that most of your customers use, some of your customers use that you've never heard of that could really be valuable. So these are just a couple tips and tricks and things that you can ask people when they prospect and that cold email lands in your inbox or that LinkedIn request. You can vet some of these questions ahead of time, and then you can have that call and that conversation. But it's really valuable sometimes. You don't know exactly what's out there, but here's a couple ways to get a clear understanding of the landscape.
Yeah, and in closing, I think one of the things is you're here with so many other agencies. This is the most helpful it's going to get. Chat with people, learn from them, what's working, what's not, who are they really seeing success with, why they're using specific partners, and use that to guide what you're going to build. You have some really bright minds in the room. It would be sad to let it go to waste. And the last tidbit I'll share is this has been...
Kick you off, Deb.
Oh, no, they are going to kick me off. This has been about partnering, and this is not just limited to tech partners. Some of the most successful agencies I know have a really good partner ecosystem of other agencies. So I encourage you to explore that opportunity. Megan and I are available if you want to talk about anything. If you want to hear a dad joke, I did Google too, so I can tell you too. You know where to find me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Megan.